Hi! Welcome to this part of my review featuring Dead Belt, the solo role-playing game of desperate space scavengers. If you haven't seen part 1, please check out the playlist in the description below. This time we are going to talk about character creation and ship creation, belter creation specifically. So, Dead Belt includes 5 distinct belters to choose between: the Vet, the Cowboy, the Void Rat, the Scoundrel, and the Slicer. They each have their own starting stat arrays and special abilities. We begin with the Vet. You are never going to be able to just go home again. Maybe you weren't in the Consolidation War. Maybe you never fired your weapon in anger. But your time in the service changed you anyway. The civilian life didn't take when you mustered out. You had too many burrs and rough edges. And on the drift, you robbed too many people the wrong way. Now you're drifting out here with the rest of us. Out on the lonesome frontier, just trying to make your way. Better than piloting a desk, right? When it comes to your starting stat array, you are pretty good when it comes to load and grit, but you're somewhat low on gear. You have special features such as brute force and ignorance. If brute force and ignorance doesn't fix it, use more. Fire in the hole. You spend gear when you would fail an obstacle roll, and you may choose to succeed instead. When it comes to your depth, you have cut off. When you have 9 depth, you lose the benefit of your brute force and ignorance ability. Next we have the Cowboy. Out here on the raggedy edge, not everyone's a hardscrabble scavenger doing it because the world didn't leave them any option. Some folks are like you, doing it for the glory, the prestige, and the red-hot adrenaline thrill that only comes of laughing at the empty wheeling of the stars. You've got a wild soul, friend. When it comes to your array, you are pretty good when it comes to grit, and you are decent when it comes to gear and load. You have special features such as "Yeehaw! See you, Space Cowboy!" When you spacewalk, you only need to draw 1 red card to cross the gap. We will talk about mechanics in a future part of this review. When it comes to depth, you have high risk, high reward. When you have 9 depth, you must check every module of the ships you scavenge before you can leave. Next we have the Void Rat. How old are you, really? Can't be what it says on your ident card, but you carry yourself like you know what you're about. That's not uncommon out here in the belt. Plenty of young folk see the allure of making their fortune out among the hulks. To be young and invincible again. Keep your wits, Void Rat, and you might just show us all. When it comes to your array, you are pretty balanced. You are a bit low on load, but a decent balanced character overall. When it comes to special features, you have Vent Rat. Bigger belters miss all the best shortcuts and getaways. When you scurry through the vents and access corridors on these old birds, you roll a d6. You appear in the corresponding threat start area. You may use this move when a threat is generated, even if it is generated in your module. When it comes to depth, you have back to basics. When you have 9 depth, you must sell back all of your ship upgrades at half of their value in order to reduce your depth. You also have the Scoundrel. You've got a reputation, Scoundrel, and depending on who's telling the tale, it may be an unlovely one. You've spent your life dodging one kind of trouble or another, though you can't charm a locked bulkhead with a silver tongue and a wink. You've still got to turn a cred at the end of the day, and whatever's just behind you won't be behind you for long. Stay sharp, and you can stay a step ahead. When it comes to your starting array, you're also pretty balanced, a bit more resourceful when it comes to grit and load. You have special features such as Can't Help But Laugh. Keeps the scars shallow, you know. When you find supply but fail your roll, you gain 1 grit. When it comes to your depth, you have Some Guys Are Coming. When you have 9 depth, all ships begin with a threat in play. These are debt collection engineers, and they function identically to merciless pirates. Then we have the Slicer. Machines have workings, and they just sort of talk to you, Slicer. Doesn't matter if it's the secondary catalytic thermoregulator, a primary inline compressor coil, or a malfunctioning cognition core for the shipboard AI. If it's got workings, you can fix it. You're probably carrying the solutions to any problem you'll come across out here, but will the dead belt make it worth your while? When it comes to your starting array, you are pretty high in gear and load, and somewhat low in grit. You have special features such as, I can fix this, give me a second. You spend gear when you would fail a bad news roll. You can choose to succeed instead. When it comes to your depth, you have mostly duct tape and prayer. When you have 9 depth, you lose the benefit of your cannibalize move. This is another one of your features. Then we have information on ship creation. At the start of play, you choose one of the ships listed on this section. The bank is happy to extend you a loan for your new venture. You add the appropriate depth amount to your belter's starting depth on your character sheet. Each point of depth has a value of 10 cred. The size of your cargo bay dictates how much scavenged loot you can move off those old boats in a single trip. You can trade in for a bigger boat later, but mind the trade-in value. So each of these ships has details on the cargo bay size, the cost, that is the depth, and the trade-in value. We have ships such as the Killdeer. The K11-3R is a solid entry point for the belter just starting out. It can mount a 3-slot spares bank, a utility scanner, and a robotic capture arm for when you need to punch out of a hulk in a hurry. Its cargo space isn't exactly cavernous, but large enough to make the trip worthwhile. Then we have the Jackdaw. The JK-43W is a clever little scrapper with improved cargo space and module mounts to fit a 5-slot spares bank. Often thought of as the choice of the discerning belter who's come into a little bit of prosperity. The W's zip around the belt often enough that thick as Jackdaws has become a common idiom out here for General Hurly-Burly. Then we have the Albatross. When you've got to get it all in one trip, the AL-47S is your bird. With a cavernous hold and expansion modules aplenty to mount the largest collection of necessities that a belter could ever need, the Albatross is a spendy luxury for scrap hounds who really mean business. It fits a 7-slot spares bank. And this concludes this part of the review. As you can see, there's plenty of variety when it comes to belters, when it comes to the characters that you can create. It's going to be a different experience every time because of their different styles. And adding to this, the randomness when you generate the content of each of these hulks as you are exploring these doomed vessels that are being sucked into a black hole. This solo role-playing game is pretty high when it comes to replay value. Now, when it comes to the ships, this is not a matter of personal choice. You will surely want to upgrade your ship as soon as possible. But, like I said, considering the randomly generated nature of each of your expeditions, I think you will have lots of fun exploring these vessels with each of the different belter classes. Thank you for watching this part of the review. If you have any comments or questions, please let me know. In the next part, we are going to take a look at the mechanics of the game. And thank you so much to those of you that have been supporting the channel by sending drive-thru RPG gift certificates. If anyone else wants to further support the channel, the information on how to do that will be in the description below. Once again, thank you and see you later.